Hi guys, it's January wrap-up time. This month I read a total of 8 books, which totaled to be around 3,675 pages. I also DNF'd 3 books, which I haven't had this many DNFs in a long time. 4 of the books I read were romance, 3 were mystery or thrillers, and only 1 was fantasy. Let's get into the reviews. Put your hand up if you think I look like a 4-year-old with my plaits in. Why is this the most stressful thing ever? Oh my god! So it's January wrap-up time. I actually cannot believe that this month is over already. How have we already done a month of 2024? And I just wanted to quickly mention that my January wrap-up from last year was my first ever video when I started getting back into doing YouTube on a regular basis. I'd done a few videos before, but my January wrap-up was the one that solidified that I was going to get back into YouTube. So it's nearly been a year. I think it actually is a year on the day that I'm uploading this. Maybe. I need to figure that out. Alexa, what date is the 4th?
January 2024 was on a Thursday.
No. Alexa, what day is the 4th of February fall on?
February 2024 is on a Sunday.
Oh, okay. So my anniversary of like a year regularly posting on YouTube is the day after this goes up, right? Maybe I'm just over. Okay, I'm just gonna get on with it because this is not going very well already. So if you watched my last vlog, I did a little mood reading vlog where I vlogged a couple of, how many times do I want to say vlog? I vlogged and read a couple of books that I was just in the mood for. It's just like a mood reading vlog. I've said vlog too much. But I started off with Yours Truly by Jimenez. Where's my phone? I need my notes. What did I like about this book? Let me tell you. Oh yes, I could have told you this anyway. This book was a 5-star. I loved it. It's the second one in a duology, and I read Part of Your World back in August. And this was one of my most anticipated reads from reading that book because the main characters in this, I can safely say, are the most deserving of their own book. I was so excited for Brianna and Jacob's story from reading Part of Your World, so I already knew that I was going to love this going into it. It has the best mental health rep that I've ever read, especially focusing on male mental health as well, which is good because I feel like a lot of the female main characters that we read do struggle with mental health issues and the men just sort of brick up their emotions and just deal with it. However, this one, Jacob's mental health is heavily mentioned, but in such a positive way. Obviously, we see his struggles, we see what he deals with, we see both the highs and the lows of that, and it just gives like a real representation of how people are feeling with anxiety and just other things. And I really appreciated that in this book, and I saw myself a lot in him as a character. I said in the vlog actually that normally I see myself in a lot of female main characters, but I saw myself a lot in Jacob, which is quite a different experience to relate to the male main character more than the female main character. But I absolutely love this book. Highly recommend. You can read it as a standalone if you want to, but I do highly recommend reading Part of Your World first, just so you get a little bit of background on the characters, and also you see Alexis and Daniel from Part of Your World in this one quite a bit too. So if you want both, definitely read Part of Your World first, but highly recommend this. Also, obviously, just thought I'd mention the first book of 2024 being a 5-star. I mean, come on. Amazing. I then moved on to The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn. This is a YA mystery/thriller series, and this is the first book. Now, if you are an avid watcher of my channel, you know that the best, one of my favourite YA thrillers ever is the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. Specifically the first one, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It's one of my 6-star reads, one of my favourite books. I literally don't shut up about it. And I have never ever found a book that has been similar to that, in my opinion. I've read so many YA thrillers, so many YA series, just trying to replicate the feeling that I had with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but I was just so disappointed by everything because I just wasn't finding that feeling. I was like, I need this again, but slightly different. And The Naturals was the closest thing I have ever got to when I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So this was also a 5-star. This was honestly one of the best reading months I've ever had in terms of rating wise as well. And I can safely say that I recommend this book so much. If you've got this sitting on your shelf and you're like, maybe I want to pick it up, just do it. It's incredible. But obviously because it's YA, it's easily written because it's made for younger people, which means you can literally fly through it within like 24 hours. And that is exactly what I did. I read like the first 60% in one sitting, and the only reason I went to bed was because I had to wake up early the next day. I really just wanted to binge it all in one night. It was that good. I then read Mile High by Liz Tomforde. This is a hockey romance, and it leads on to The Right Move, which is a basketball romance, and Caught Up, which is a baseball romance, and then there's a new one coming out as well. I do love hockey romances, and I've read kind of like my fair share of them. I definitely love sports romances. First of all, I just want to say that I rated this a 4.25. I absolutely adored the book, but I did have a couple of little issues with it that meant that my rating was lowered just a tad. First one being the length of it. I have said this in my vlog, but it literally could have been 200 pages shorter, and I probably would have rated it higher because of that, because it would have just got straight to the point. I will back that up though by saying that it is very plot driven. I find that a lot of longer books sort of are very slow and nothing really happens and things are over explained and stuff, but with this one things definitely progressed. It definitely was a plot driven book. They weren't in one place too long and things happened, and it was very still you know, it wasn't fast paced, but it was fast paced enough that you can get through it quite quickly. But I do think for romances in general, this was nearly 600 pages long, and it just didn't need to have that many pages. My other problem with it as well was that the main male character at the start of the book had a great physical attraction to our main female character, Stevie. Obviously it's nice to be physically attracted to someone, and it's nice to know that someone is physically attracted to you, but it was very physical, to the point where like that was it was only physical, whereas she started developing actual feelings for him and he was just admiring her body, which again is sometimes nice, but I was like, when are you going to get to the point of actually liking her as a person? Because she has a great personality and she's a bad, and you are not even liking her as a person, you're just admiring her curves. Going on to that though, it does have amazing plus size rep. The talks of body issues and body confidence and stuff was brought up quite highly in this book, and I appreciated that, knowing that not all main characters are perfect and stuff. So yeah, it definitely had its perks, it definitely had little things that I had issues with, but all in all it was a good book and I would still recommend it. But I am most excited for the second book in the series, which is Basketball Romance. Oh my god, I can't wait to read that book. So this next one I was actually reading over the Christmas period. I think I started it on Christmas Eve and I sort of just slowly read it alongside other books, and then I ended up finishing the majority of it in January, and that is A Court of Silver Flames by, why was I nearly about to say Jennifer Lynn Barnes? No. Sarah J. Maas. This is the 5th book in the ACOTAR series and the final one that's out at the moment. I know that there's definitely more coming from this world, but I don't even think they've been written yet. I think one is in the process of being written, but for now this is like the last book in that series. I feel like a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with this book and the character that it follows, simply because she's a very complex character, and I don't want to say like too much about it because it's the last book in a series, but I just want to say that I rated this book a 4.25 and I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I genuinely wasn't excited about this book, especially because it's written in third person as well. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get on with this. Considering I love the rest of the series so much, I was like, I am a little bit scared. It's very long, it's written in third person, and it follows quite a hit or miss character. I am no longer a hater of the character that this book follows. I feel like everyone knows who it follows, but I don't want to be the one to say it, just in case. I don't know. It's not really a spoiler, but anyway. But obviously I was quite intimidated by this book simply because of those aspects. I absolutely loved it. And I think I loved it because it was the final book in the series and we saw characters from the series and everything come together and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I think if I read this as a standalone, not knowing what I know previously, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. But so good. I'm not usually one to binge series. I normally sort of read one a month if I'm really liking it, because I just like to mix up my reading as much as possible, and obviously being in multiple series at once, you want time to be able to read every single one of them rather than focusing on too much at once. I don't know. But I then read Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is the second book in the Natural series. I rated this one a 4.5, so still a very high rating, but I did like it less than the first one. I'm not exactly sure why. I think that the first one just had a lot of build up and it was all exciting and stuff. This one did take a turn, and I very much appreciated the turn that it took because it was just so gripping. But I feel like this one made me realise how much I was craving that YA thriller feeling. Obviously I mentioned previously A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and how I'd been trying to replicate the feelings that I had from that book. This just solidified that for me, and I just know I'm going to love the rest of the series, and I love these characters so much, and I feel like they're the perfect books to get you out of a reading slump. If you're feeling a little bit slumpy, even if you don't even like thrillers, even if you don't like YA, I feel like these are just the perfect books to get out of that, because they're so fast paced and they're just going to give you that motivation to just binge the whole series. It is so good. Highly, highly recommend. I don't even think I have words to describe the book that I'm holding. So if you saw my September wrap up, then you would know that I read Magnolia Parks for the first time, and it instantly became my favourite book of all time. A 6-star, highly recommend. I don't even have words to describe my love for this book and this series, and I've been putting off reading Magnolia Parks 2, which is The Long Way Home, for this entire time because I just didn't want it to be over. But then part of me did want to read it because we've got the next one coming out called Into the Dark in February, and I was like, I need to be prepared. I need to finish the Magnolia Parks series so I can go straight into the dark. When I tell you this is the most painful thing I have ever read, but in the best way, oh my goodness, I'd be telling you the truth. This is another 6-star read. I honestly don't know if I like this one the best or the first one. I think they're on par at the moment. They are both 6-star reads. My favourite books ever. I literally just wanted to reread this the minute I finished it. I wanted to go back to page 1 and start all over again. It was that good. I feel like Jessa is just known for her lyrical writing, her amazing quotes, her amazing metaphors. If there's a metaphor to be had, she will slap that on there and she will do it. But it is in the best way possible. This book quite literally tore my heart out, stitched it back together, and then ripped it out again. And why is that my favourite book, you may ask? I don't know. I feel like I have become a lover of pain and trauma in books at the moment. If you are a bit intimidated by this series and you're not really sure if you want to read it or anything, do it. This is your recommendation. Do it. And I just want to say, they are not fun books to read, and to be honest, I don't even think I would recommend them to someone that is mentally unstable, because you are just going to get, there's rock bottom, you get even lower. Like yeah, they're the feelings you'll get from reading this series. It is the most painful thing, but in the best way possible. It's so good. So obviously, as I loved Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home so much, I thought I'm probably going to get into a little bit of a slump because of this, because nothing replicated that feeling. Nothing, I don't know, I just wasn't in a great headspace to read another book. Not even in, oh anyway, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. So I picked up To Love Jason Thorne. This was meant to be in a reading vlog for February, but I actually don't know if I'm going to continue on that vlog right now, so take that with what you will. You might see it in a vlog, you might not. But this is one of my friend's favourite books. She loved it at the start of last year and she was like, I cannot wait for you to read this. And I think on a normal day, I would have probably really enjoyed this book. But I think after reading Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home, any book that I read after that book would have been not worth it to me. Awful. And that's not me saying this book's awful, but I rated this book a 3-star, but I don't think that is a fair rating because I read it after Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. If I didn't read it after The Long Way Home, it probably would have been like a 4, 4.25. I love fake dating. I love the opposites attract. Every sort of trope in this, I do tend to enjoy, but anything that I read after The Long Way Home just instantly just gets lowered for me, which is not fair, but I obviously had to continue reading. I love reading and I wanted to get into a new book. I was very close to DNFing this book simply because it just wasn't giving me the feelings that my other 5 stars of the month did. Again, it's so frustrating because on a normal day I would have loved it. I think I will prefer some of Elle Mae's other books more, maybe Marriage for One, maybe The Hardest Fall looks really, really good. I'm really interested in reading that, so hopefully I'll like them more. And it wasn't her writing was amazing, the plot was good, it was fast paced, everything went very well, and the book was good. The ending took a turn, it picked up in the second half a lot, but I was just a little bit disappointed because I'd just read such an amazing book. I then read Never Lie by Frida McFadden on my thriller, I nearly said, on my Kindle, which is a thriller, and I rated that one a 3.25 star. It definitely wasn't my favourite Frida McFadden book, but it was still really, really good. I think I now have issues with books that are set in the same setting the entire way through. Never Lie is set in this house, and they get locked into this house, they get snowed in, and obviously the whole book progresses into this house, and like they don't leave it, which was fun. It was definitely fun to read about. But I also read Five Survive by Holly Jackson, which is the Good Girl's Guide to Murder author, and that book is centered around this RV, and they spend the whole book in the RV because it's set over one night, and I didn't really like that one very much, and I put it down to the fact that yes, it was fast paced, but the plot didn't seem fast paced because they were just in one setting the whole time. So I think that definitely took away from that. That's just me being very picky and very fussy, but I normally adore Frida McFadden books. She's one of my favourite thriller authors ever. You literally cannot go wrong with her books, just as a little palette cleanser, and I did enjoy the book for sure, but it just wasn't as good in comparison to some of the other ones that I read by her. Now this is where we start getting into a little bit of a slump, a little bit of a problem. So obviously my Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home slump solidified at this point. I tried reading To Love Jason Thorne, I read Never Lie, but I only put down to enjoying that one so much because it was a different genre. I got into a bit of a romance slump, and I'm still kind of in it a little bit. So I started reading, first of all, the book by Jasmine Guillory, I don't know how to pronounce that name, I'm so sorry. And I got around 11 pages in. Oh yeah, literally page 11. I read it in the bath because I just didn't want to take my Kindle in the bath with me. And I did enjoy where I read up to. I just wasn't 100% hooked on it. And also I had a job interview the day after, so I was just so anxious. My brain was going crazy because I was just like, I cannot concentrate on anything right now other than this job interview. I got the job anyway, so congrats to me for that. Anyway, but I was so anxious that I just wasn't hooked on any books. I couldn't really read properly. I didn't want to do anything. Then if I didn't read, I'd feel unproductive. My brain was just not doing what it was supposed to be doing. So I did DNF this, but it's a soft DNF, which means that I will pick it up in the future. It's definitely going back straight onto my TBR cart. It's such a short little read as well. I definitely will pick this up because I did enjoy what I read from it. It just wasn't at that right moment that I picked it. I just picked it because it was short. Now, you guys are going to hate me. So if you watched my 24 books for 2024 video, all the books that I want to read in 2024, you would know that I want to start the Throne of Glass series. Obviously, as I said, I just finished the ACOTAR series, so obviously the first point of call now is to go into Throne of Glass. However, I got 20 pages into this book and softly DNF'd it because I am straight back into this series in February 100%. Because I posted on my story that I was starting with The Assassin's Blade because I had had so many mixed reviews on what book to start with, whether to start with Throne of Glass, whether to start with The Assassin's Blade, whether to read it second, third, whatever. And I basically got shouted at for starting with it. So I put up a poll on Instagram, which one should I start with? And everyone, like 80% of you, said to start with The Assassin's Blade. However, I got paragraphs of text, which I do appreciate. I want to thank you guys for your help. I'm not complaining at all, by the way, of text messages saying, I think you'll prefer it this way. I think you'd prefer it if you read it third because it gives you more of an emotional impact. However, the story does kind of get spoiled by the first Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight. It was... Tell me, I don't know. I actually have no idea because I haven't read the series. I obviously don't know, and obviously everyone's trying to explain it to me without spoiling it. I think I want to read it first because from everything that I've heard, it just makes sense in my brain that I would enjoy it first. It's honestly physically painful for my brain. Like, I appreciate the help. I appreciate that everyone wants to help me out and make me get the best experience possible, but when everyone has different experiences, I'm agreeing with both sides. Part of me wants to read it first, part of me wants to read it third, part of me wants to read it whatever, and now I'm just as confused. So I actually got too scared. I actually softly DNF'd this book because I was terrified of doing it in the wrong order. But I am definitely going to delve back into this series in February, or at least very, very soon. But I just got too scared. So I do apologise, and obviously I'm thankful for everyone that wants to help me out and sort of help me get the best experience possible out of this. But let me know your opinions. I'm always able to listen to new opinions and stuff. I just didn't want to start it and put too much pressure on myself. And also, obviously, I had the job interview, so I just didn't want to focus on a fantasy right now. My brain wasn't braining anyway, let alone reading a fantasy. So soft DNF for now. So then I thought, obviously, because I wasn't reading The Assassin's Blade anymore, I would pick up The Score by Elle Kennedy, which is the third book in the Off-Campus series, which is another hockey romance series that I've been loving. And I think I got around 40 to 50 pages into that and also DNF'd it. That was also the night before / day of the interview. I was liking it, actually. That was the one out of all the ones that I DNF'd, I was liking that one the most, and I'm 100% going to get back into that series soon because I do love the series. I've read the first two, thoroughly enjoyed them, but I think because I had the interview, I was just not in the right headspace to read. But I heard that it was very smut based, it wasn't very plot driven, it was just a lot of smut. And at the moment when I was in a little bit of a slump, I thought, I don't need that right now because I need something that's fast paced, I need something that's going to keep me hooked. Whereas if it's just pages and pages of smut, that's just not what I needed in that moment. Next month, I might love that for Valentine's Day and all of that, you know? I might enjoy that, but at this very moment, that is just not what I needed. And then I think I put it down to the fact that, obviously, because I loved Magnolia Parks, and I love a lot of books with trauma in them, and a lot of books with sad topics and underlying issues and abuse and all of that horrible stuff, I don't think I'm a fluffy romance girl right now. In summer, I think I'm more of a fluffy, cutesy romance kind of person, but I love sad books. And I think at this point, with everything that I DNF'd and stuff, I fancied a romance, but I needed something with a little bit of like some trauma sprinkled in. So I decided to pick up Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I'm not going to review this book because I'm not even halfway through it, but I thought I'd give it a mention because I had read 300 pages of it in January. So because I'm reading over half of it in February, I am going to class it as a February book. If I was less than halfway left, I would count it as January, if that makes sense. But that's just sort of like how I rate and consider what books go in what months. But I will not be finishing this by the end of January because it's literally the 30th today as I'm filming this. But I thought I would just give it a mention because obviously I have been reading it slowly over the last couple of days, but I'm absolutely loving this book so far. I think I just need that little bit of trauma sprinkled in order for me to like romance right now. I'm in my like dark kind of era, my thriller mood, my trauma mood. I don't know why, but that's exactly what I'm craving. So those are all the books that I read in January. So if you've read some of them, let me know what you think. Obviously leave it spoiler free just in case anyone else wants to read them and haven't yet. And I've been debating on my channel whether to do TBR videos, and if that is something you're interested in, definitely let me know. But I just thought I'd add a couple of the books that I want to read in the next month just here on the end of my wrap up, because I'm not going to go too much into them. I'm not going to make it a whole thing. If you do want dedicated TBR videos, I definitely will do them, but I've got a couple of books that I just wanted to quickly show you of ones that I would probably like to get read in February. I do have 3 other ones I think that I want to read for a reading vlog, which will be out at some point in February as well, but these are the ones that are not for a vlog. I just would like to get to, and I might not get to them. So first of all, we have Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. This is the second Daisy Hates book in the Magnolia Parks series. Obviously, we've got Magnolia Parks Into the Dark coming out on February 13th. and I need to be prepared and ready to just dive straight into that book. And I'm yet to read this one. It's actually a lot shorter than I thought it was actually. It's only like 350 pages. I thought it was longer than that. I will say I am more of a Magnolia Parks girly than a Daisy Hates girly. I know that a lot of people agree more with Daisy and like Daisy. Not that they're in competition with each other. I'm more of a Magnolia girl than a Daisy girl, but I cannot wait because this book apparently is like the best Daisy Hates book. Obviously knowing all the background from the first one, going into this is just more painful. So I'm so excited to read this. Obviously I mentioned that my current read was Binding 13 and maybe I'll get to Keeping 13. Obviously I don't know how Binding 13 is going to end, but I have heard that I should have the second book on standby just in case I want to delve straight into it. And I've got this one and I've also got Saving 6 and Redeeming 6 on my bookshelf as well, so I'm very much prepared to just binge this series if I want to. I would then also love to read Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is one that I think everyone has read. I think it was like 2021, 2022 that everyone read this, and I am yet to do it. So I think February might be my month because it just looks so pretty as well, and it's just such apparently an emotional story. Everyone loves it. It's like childhood friends to lovers, which I never used to like, and it is now one of my favourite tropes ever. I think I'd also like to read Checkmate by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood's quite a hit or miss author for me really. I loved The Love Hypothesis. I really liked Love Theoretically, but I had my issues with it and stuff, so I'm hoping that I like this one. I have heard that it is very focused on chess, which obviously, but I think if you just sort of know that going into it, you're going to like it a lot more, which is good. So yeah, I'm excited to read that one as well. I'm not sure again if I'm going to get to it in February, but we'll see. And lastly, I have The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I'd also love to get to this. I was meant to get to this last month, well, January, and I was meant to get to this in November, October, whatever. I was meant to read this book and I haven't yet because I got a little bit scared. And I read like the first couple of pages of it. It's still got a bookmark in it. And I started like annotating it a little bit because it just seems like the book you'd want to annotate. And I think because of that, because I was getting a little bit slumpy after reading Magnolia Parks, I was like, I'm not in the mood to just sit and annotate a book right now because it's just going to take too long. I need something fast that I'm just going to want to just not put down. So yeah, hopefully I'll read that one in February, but if not, it will definitely be very, very soon in March or whatever. Obviously there's not really many fluffy romances in there, and I think for the month of love, for the month of February, I might want to just delve into a little bit more fluffy romances, but obviously I am prioritising mood reading this year. I did mention it in my reset vlog, I mentioned it a couple of vlogs ago. In order to enjoy reading more, mood reading is the way to go. And I feel like my 2024 reading experience has already been better than 2023, and we're only a month in, simply just from enjoying the books that I want to read, taking my time. So I just need to stop focusing on the numbers and just sort of make sure I'm just reading what I want to read, and that goes for you as well. But that is it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, then please give it a thumbs up. Obviously if you do want separate TBR videos, definitely let me know, keep me posted, and if you have any exciting ways to pick my TBR, then definitely let me know. Obviously I have vlog ideas. I have like mum picks my reads, my dog picks my reads, my fiance picks my reads. I'm definitely going to do those as vlogs, but I obviously want to do some separate like sit down videos where my followers blindly choose my TBR prompts choose my TBR, and all of that other fun stuff. So let me know if you've got any other ideas below other than those. And obviously, as I said, if you did enjoy it, then give it a thumbs up, comment down below your current read, and I will hopefully see you very, very soon in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.